The name of the man who built the Great Pyramid of Giza appears carved into sandstone in a narrow gorge in the New South Wales bush, 60 kilometres north of Sydney. Not a vague resemblance to Egyptian writing. A cartouche, the oval frame that ancient Egyptians used specifically to denote royal names, containing a hieroglyph that translators have read as Khufu, the 4th dynasty pharaoh, whose tomb still stands on the Giza plateau. Alongside it are approximately 300 Egyptian-style symbols covering 2 facing sandstone walls, including an image of Anubis, the god of the dead, and text that a claimed translation describes as the burial record of an Egyptian prince who died here from a snake bite 4,500 years ago. The official position is that every single one of those symbols is a fake carved by an unknown person in the 20th century. The site has never been formally excavated. No peer-reviewed scientific paper has established when the carvings were made. And Darkinjung Aboriginal elders, whose country this land has always been, have made statements about the site that the official position does not fully account for. This channel covers ancient Australian history that most people were never taught. If that is the territory you want to explore, subscribe now. New episode only on Spotify, link below. The site. The Gosford Glyphs, formerly known as the Cartouche hieroglyphs, sit inside Brisbane Water National Park between Gosford and Woy Woy on the central coast of New South Wales. They are located in a narrow sandstone cleft, a natural passage between 2 facing rock walls that requires a somewhat awkward scramble to enter. Both walls of the cleft are covered from close to the floor to several metres high with carved symbols. The symbols are immediately recognisable to anyone who has seen Egyptian hieroglyphics. They use the same visual vocabulary as the inscriptions on the walls of the temples at Karnak and Abu Simbel. That is either because ancient Egyptians carved them, or because whoever did carve them was working from modern reference books and copying the symbols without fully understanding the language they were reproducing. The debate between those two positions has been running since 1975. The broader area around the cleft is one of the most significant Aboriginal rock art sites on the New South Wales Central Coast. The Guringai and Darkinjung peoples have left extensive petroglyphs throughout the Brisbane Water National Park region, including human figures, kangaroos, birds, fish, and ceremonial markings that have been formally documented and protected. The Egyptian-style carvings sit within this landscape of genuine ancient Aboriginal art, which is one of the reasons the site produces such strong disagreement. Its geographic context is legitimate. The site itself is the question. Rumours of Egyptian carvings in the Cartouche area had been circulating since at least the 1920s. Local accounts from that period describe stories of hieroglyphs in the bush north of Gosford, though no formal documentation of the site was produced. Whether these rumours describe the same carvings now formally known as the Gosford Glyphs, or some other feature of the landscape that has since been lost, is unknown. The glyphs were first formally reported in 1975 by Alan Dash, a surveyor working for Gosford Council. Dash had been visiting the area for 7 years without noticing the symbols. When he finally entered the cleft and examined the walls, he found approximately 300 carved symbols that he had not seen on any previous visit. His explanation for why he had not noticed them earlier was that the site had been covered with sand and overgrown vegetation, which had been cleared or disturbed in the period immediately before his discovery. Over the following 5 years, Dash continued to visit and recorded that new glyphs appeared to materialise on each visit. Whether this reflects new carvings being added after the site was discovered, the gradual clearing of vegetation revealing previously hidden sections, or something more difficult to explain, has never been formally determined. What the glyphs say. A translation of the Gosford Glyphs was produced in the early 1980s by an Australian named Ray Johnson, who described himself as an Egyptologist and claimed to have spent years studying the hieroglyphics at the site. Johnson's translation describes an expedition from ancient Egypt led by two royal brothers, Lord Nefertiru and Lord Jesib, sons of the Pharaoh Khufu. According to the translation, the expedition became stranded in Australia after losing their vessel. Nefertiru died from a snake bite during the expedition and was buried at the site. The glyphs describe the grief of the surviving brother and record the events of the journey in the form of a memorial inscription. If that translation is accurate, the Gosford site would be the burial place of a son of the man who built the Great Pyramid, predating European knowledge of Australia by approximately 4,000 years, and would represent one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in human history. There is a significant complication. There is a well-known and highly respected American Egyptologist named Raymond W. Johnson, who holds a senior position at the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago. His name being identical to the name of the Australian who produced the Gosford translation, led many researchers to assume they were the same person. They are not. The American Raymond W. Johnson has explicitly and publicly stated that he has never translated hieroglyphic inscriptions in Australia, has never visited the Gosford site, and that whoever translated those carvings had no association with the Oriental Institute. The Australian Ray Johnson, who produced the translation, was self-taught, held no formal academic qualifications in Egyptology, and died in 2004. Whether his translation is the work of a genuine scholar working outside formal institutions, or a fabrication built around mistaken identity, has never been formally resolved. Subscribe now if you want to keep going, because this is where the story splits in two directions that cannot both be right. The mainstream academic position on the Gosford Glyphs is clear and consistent. Archaeologists, Egyptologists, and specialists in pseudo-archaeology have examined the site and reached essentially the same conclusion. The carvings are a recent hoax, most likely produced in the 20th century. The most significant piece of physical evidence for this position comes from 1983, when a rock art conservator for the National Parks and Wildlife Service examined the site formally. The conservator reported that many of the glyphs showed no weathering consistent with age, and that based on the freshness of the carving, a significant number of the symbols appeared to have been made within the previous year. Ancient carvings on sandstone surfaces develop a patina over time and show weathering patterns that distinguish them from recent work. Many of the Gosford symbols showed neither. A second problem is the translation itself. Independent Egyptologists who have examined the symbols have found serious inconsistencies. Some glyphs appear to be copied from modern reference books about ancient Egyptian writing rather than representing actual ancient inscriptions. The grammar and syntax of the text does not consistently follow the conventions of any known period of ancient Egyptian writing. Parts of the inscription cannot be translated at all because they are combinations of signs that do not form valid words or phrases in any documented form of the Egyptian language. This is consistent with someone copying symbols from a dictionary without understanding how the language works, producing something that looks Egyptian without being linguistically functional. No credible archaeological evidence of an Egyptian expedition to Australia has been found anywhere else on the continent. No Egyptian artefacts consistent with a genuine 4th dynasty presence have been formally confirmed by peer-reviewed analysis. The logistical challenges of a wooden Egyptian vessel of the Old Kingdom period reaching Australia from the Red Sea and surviving the journey remain extraordinary. What the official position does not fully address. The case against authenticity is strong. It is not, however, the complete picture. The rumours of hieroglyphs in the Cartouche area predating the 1975 formal discovery by approximately 50 years are not explained by the hoax narrative. If someone carved the glyphs in the period before Dash's discovery, the 1920s accounts of Egyptian carvings in the same location suggest either that the carvings are genuinely older than the skeptical timeline allows, or that there have been multiple separate sets of carvings added to the site across the 20th century by different people. Neither explanation makes the mystery simpler. Darkinjung Elder. Auntie Bev Spears has made formal statements about the Gosford site that add a layer the purely skeptical account does not engage with. Auntie Bev Spears has stated that some of the Cartouche glyphs are Egyptian, and that there are other glyphs at the site from an older tradition that are not Egyptian and were made by her people. The Darkinjung people's active involvement in managing the land around Brisbane Water National Park gives their elders testimony about specific sites a different weight from outside speculation. Auntie Bev Spears is not arguing for ancient alien contact or pseudo-historical theory. She is describing what she understands the site to contain, which includes material she identifies as Aboriginal rather than Egyptian. No formal peer-reviewed excavation has been conducted at the site. The fractured stone beneath the cleft, which researchers have proposed might conceal buried passages or a tomb consistent with the translation's burial narrative, has not been formally investigated. Whether anything is under the cleft is not currently known, because no one with the institutional resources to find out has formally looked. What is sitting in a sandstone gorge 60 kilometres north of Sydney has been officially explained and unofficially contested for 50 years. The cartouche with Khufu's name is either one of the most important inscriptions in human history or the work of someone with a chisel and a library book. The official position says the latter. The elder of the people whose country this has always been says some of it is something else. No formal excavation has been conducted to settle the question using the tools that would actually settle it. In the meantime, the glyphs sit in the bush, visible to anyone who makes the scramble into the cleft, waiting for someone to look more carefully than anyone officially has yet chosen to. If this changed how you think about what might be sitting in the Australian bush unexamined, leave it in the comments. Subscribe for more ancient Australian history that the official record has not finished with.